The streets of Tehran, a remarkably familiar scene. But this is not Iran after June's presidential election. This is the capital exactly 10 years ago from today. These protests were prompted by the closure of the reformist newspaper Salam. The demonstrations began peacefully, but things turned violent. An attack on a student dormitory at the University of Tehran by riot police and paramilitary forces left at least one student dead. There were allegations of many more killed, and witness accounts claimed students were being thrown off the roof as Basij forces carried out their evening raid. What followed were 6 days of demonstrations and rioting throughout the country. Demonstrators set buses on fire. Riot police responded with tear gas. Chanting, "We will kill whoever kills our brother," students took to the streets of the capital. Their initial plea for freedom of press quickly took on demands for greater personal freedoms. The shut-down newspaper Salam was operated by the Reformist Party, to which the then-president Mohammad Khatami belonged. This young man, 21-year-old Ahmad Batabi, became the face of the student protests. Holding a shirt splattered with the blood of a fellow protester, his picture appeared on the cover of The Economist magazine. Shortly after its publishing, Batabi was arrested, tried in closed-door proceedings, found guilty of, quote, creating street unrest, and sentenced to death. He explains what happened to him next.
The judge used the publishing of my photo as an additional crime because, he said, this picture has been seen around the world and you have tarnished the Islamic Republic by holding a bloody shirt. And since the Islamic Republic is the will of God, you have also tarnished God's reputation. Therefore, you must be executed. After getting the death sentence, I was taken to prison. But because of international pressure from various human rights organizations, my sentence was reduced to 15 years. And I served 9.5 years of that, and then I fled the country. When I was in prison in the first few years, I regretted letting my picture be taken that day. But that shirt belonged to my friend, another student who was shot in the shoulder by Basij forces. I held up that shirt to prevent other students from leaving the university grounds. I wanted to save them from the firing squad that was waiting outside. I think that picture showed the world what was happening in the country, and it exemplified the oppressive nature of this regime.
The student groups were one of the major supporters of the president at the time. Mohammad Khatami and his reform programs had widespread support amongst the youth. They took up his cause, protesting against the judiciary, which was and still is controlled by the hardline opponents of Khatami. Once the protests turned violent and spilled onto the streets, Khatami denounced the riots. But despite appeals for calm, violence spread to other cities. On July 12, 1999, a ban was announced on rallies, and the following day, President Khatami threatened tough action to restore order. Many rioters were jailed, and 3 alleged ringleaders were sentenced to death. The future is ours, this man says. But the question persists as to whether the student movement of 1999 committed any irreparable mistakes, and whether students facing even harsher conditions can learn from them today. Dorsa, Jabbari, Al Jazeera.